Welcome to this episode of Author Success Show. The special guest we have today is 10-year-old Miranda Sofia. Miranda is an avid reader and writing enthusiast, loving and caring, a daydreamer, observant and introspective at times, and full of imagination and contagious energy. She started creating images and stories since she was 4 and has continued since. She was born in London in the lap of a Latino family with roots in Venezuela. Together with her little sister Maxima, she has brought the spark of both cultures into her personality and writing style. All these elements play a role in her debut publication, Poems and Stories for Little People, which has sold copies in multiple formats and countries around the world. Hi, Miranda. Welcome to Author Success Show.
Hi, thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you on the show, Miranda, because you are one of our youngest guests.
Thank you. I appreciate being here and with you.
Thank you. So, right now you're 10 years old, right?
Yes.
But when we
Yeah,
published your book last year, you must have been 9,
yeah, I was. Yeah.
right? So, were you always interested in writing? When was the first time you realized that writing is one of your passions?
Well, really, I just started reading lots of books, and from there, it just started. I kept reading and writing sometimes those occasional poems and things.
Right. So, do you remember at what age it all began?
I think maybe at 6 or 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember for a birthday, I got a bookmaking kit or something, and I created a small story, which I actually have right here.
Amazing.
Not that much in the handwriting, but here called The Cat and the Dog.
Lovely.
So illustrated by me, a girl who loses her dog, who meets a
Um,
cat, and they have a few adventures together.
Amazing. I've never seen a book making kit. So somebody gifted you this thing as a
Yes.
on your birthday.
Yeah, with many stickers and effects to put on.
Oh, so that's so
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah,
this
it was
was
very
this like
fun.
the first time you tried writing something on your own?
Yes, actually. Yeah, the age of 6.
Lovely. And did you continue writing? Did your parents encourage you?
Yes, they did. Yeah, we had lots of fun and we made different stories.
Right. See, a lot of kids do it as a hobby, but you took it one step ahead and you decided to publish it as a book. So, whose idea was it? Did your dad suggest you, or did your mom, or did you
Yeah,
decide that?
well, I had like a small collection of stories I'd written, and my dad thought, well, what use is it having it there without sharing it out? So he thought maybe publish it and yeah.
Amazing. I'm so glad that your parents took your hobby seriously and they decided to put it all together as a published book. So, when you were writing these short stories, Miranda, would you just scribble them on pieces of paper or in that kit that you have? Or would you organize it in neatly? How were you doing these writings?
Well, occasionally, I'd see little snippets of place of things and places, and I thought maybe put that into a story. So I'd
Mhm.
get a small notebook, or if I didn't have that, a phone, and I'd write down the main points of the story, the setting, and
Mhm.
all the things around me.
Did you actually attend some kind of a course or a program to learn how to write? Because the things that you speak look so professional, like a story and a plot and characters. So usually writers, like seasoned writers, do all of this, but you did it on your own. So did somebody teach you how to do all this?
No, actually, no. I just learned from English lessons at school and really just people speaking in the books and everything else.
Wow, that's so nice. So when you decided that you and your dad felt that now this needs to be published, did you already have enough stories and poems, or did you have to write a few more for the book?
Well, I did have to write a few more. For example, one of the long ones at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was hard, but in the end, we got the results.
Amazing. So your book is pretty nice because a kid who's reading the book doesn't have to read the entire book from the first to the last page. They could just open any short story or any poem, whichever inspires them, and they can just read it, right? So when you were putting together these stories and poems, did you think of any what was inspiring you to pick a particular storyline? Where would you get your inspiration from?
Well, most of the time, I just think of something. For example, when I'm in bed,
Mm-hmm.
I think of something random and I feel like I have to jot it down,
Mm-hmm.
or just let's say at school, any time really, or sometimes when I'm in a specific place that I start imagining things that could happen in it, and then I start thinking of a story from there and write it all down.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you jotted these points because if you hadn't done that, then maybe later you might have forgotten that idea or inspiration.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, when you started the process of putting it as a book, what were some of the things that you really enjoyed doing?
Well, I enjoyed well, maybe thinking about the book cover with my dad. We took inspiration from a chair that I have, which I use especially for reading in Valencia, which and we have a house there.
Uh huh.
So I always sit there and read all the time whenever I get some time to relax. And yeah,
That's so
so
cool. Do
that
you have a copy of the book with you?
yes.
Could you just show us? Yeah, that's the chair. Lovely.
Yeah, so I just lie like that on it and read.
Cool. So, inside the book, there are some amazing, colorful illustrations. How was that process for you? Because when you were writing them as stories, did you actually imagine how it would look like in the form of a book? Or did you start thinking of the pictures to tell us only after we started working?
Yeah, I was thinking about the pictures most of the time. So me
Mm-hmm.
and my dad would write them on a whiteboard somewhere and take photos of it to keep it, and then we would sometimes go onto those and try to make it better, add different things depending on how the story went,
Right.
and yeah, that turned into all the illustrations in the
So
book.
cool. The inputs that you and your dad gave were so helpful for our illustrators to actually draw the images. So when you finally saw the output, the physical book in your hand, how did it feel?
Well, really, I was really surprised that I could have actually done this, like from a 6-year old writing a small book to a 9 or 10-year old having published one. Yeah, so yeah, I've come a long way, I think.
I think it's an incredible journey. So in the whole process, which was the story or poem which was the hardest for you to write?
Well, I think the one at the very end, which took
Hmm.
up about 20 something pages, but yeah, it was quite hard. It took me like 5 weeks or more than a
Hmm.
month to complete, and then after that, still editing it
Right.
was a whole process.
Sure. And which was the most fun for you? Which story or poem?
I think that the hardest one was also my
Mhm.
funnest one because I'd always have places to go to, and those places I drew inspiration from them. For example, I went to a museum, I
Mhm.
think the Victorian Albert, and I found loads of places that inspired
Right.
some rooms in the story. Because at some point in a small wooden room with um with wooden like panels on the side, it turns into a secret room. So I took that and turned it into just a part when they stumble into it and find things laid out.
Awesome. You know what, Miranda? I learned a couple of things from what you said. One is whatever is hard for us in life need not be boring. They can actually be fun. The fun is in doing the things that are harder than what we are used to doing. So that's a great learning from whatever you shared. And the other message I get is when we are doing the same things every day in our comfort zone, just watching the devices and screens, we may not get the inspiration. But when we go out of our comfort zone to like a park or a museum, like what you mentioned, we may stumble upon some cool things to draw inspiration from.
Yeah, it really works. So,
Yeah.
you step out and you get lots of things to draw inspiration from. Yeah.
So true. I also got to know that you are the youngest author to be added to the Chiswick Writers list. How did that feel?
Well, really, I was quite surprised and being able, and I felt I had more I felt I had like more potential from that and that I could do a bit more than I thought I could.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I remember I was allowed to skip a bit of school to go and talk there.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, it was very fun though I was quite nervous and I took
Yeah,
a friend with me. So
nice. No, whenever we do anything for the first time, we all tend to be a little nervous. But once you do it for the first time, then it's always going to be easier. Like, I'm just loving the way you're speaking so confidently. I'm sure it's because you've already had the experience of speaking in front of people.
yeah, actually, yeah, the first time it was quite nervous. For example, I did my TED talk.
Uh-huh.
I was just standing there trying to get the words out of my mouth. But later on it got a bit easier and yeah, here we are now.
So cool. What was your TED talk about?
Well, my first one I was about my love for reading,
Mm-hmm.
and the second one had something to do with most of the books I read
Mm-hmm.
and what I liked about them, I think.
Cool. You know what I'll do is I'll find the links to your TED Talks and I'm going to add it in the show notes below so that the people who are watching or listening to us can go check that out as well.
Okay.
So, what was the reaction of your friends, your teachers, and the people who read your book? What did they tell you after reading the book?
Well, at school, most of the teachers said, "Congratulations, we loved it.
Hmm.
We're glad that you did all that and that you finally had yeah had those results." And
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so nice that you're not just writing a book for your joy, but you're also an inspiration for all the other people out there who want to write a book like but they feel too scared or they feel they're too young or too old. So your story and this interview could be an inspiration for all those, people out there. So what would be your final message to the other kids out there who love to read and write?
Well, maybe I say step out of your comfort zone and just try something new because I remember I was smaller and I never thought I'd actually be an author because back then, most of the people in my class wanted to be an artist,
Mm-hmm.
draw, paint, and that was just very simple. But then when I made this book and like the stories and poems and lots of other things, you realize that you want to be something else, try something new and yeah, so also what kind of inspired my love for writing was also I think I was 7 roughly and my dad had heard of a family writing competition, I think,
Mm-hmm.
for Christmas. So we had to write a Christmas story and I wrote one and I won it.
Is that the first
Um
story on the book?
Yes, it
Mhm.
is. My dad had the idea of putting it in, so I won the competition with it, and since then I started writing more and more.
Awesome. I think the key message that I'm going to take away is to try something new and put yourself out there, because it takes a lot of courage to participate in the competition. But if you had not done that, maybe this book would not have happened, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, what are your plans for the future? What other goals do you have? What are your other passions?
Well, I currently I try to play ukulele.
Uh huh.
I love doing that. I participate in a lot of sports. I do swimming, and I'm thinking of possibly writing another story soon.
Awesome, Miranda. Keep following your heart. Do everything that gives you joy. And when you are happy and do the things you love, you just make the world a better place. So, thank you so much once again for coming on Author Success Show and sharing your story.
Thank you to you too. I enjoyed this so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.